Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel, Life After Loss. My name is Lindsay, and today I'm going to be discussing the connection between grief and love. Sometimes we compare the way we express our grief to the amount of love that we actually had for the person that has passed away. And this is a comparison that can oftentimes lead people to feel guilty as though they are grieving incorrectly, or even feel as though they didn't love the person enough. No one person is going to experience their grief the same way all across the board. One person can experience the loss of 5 loved ones and have 5 different grief experiences. So I wanted to highlight 6 particular grief experience factors that can contribute to the way you express or even feel your grief. I came across this article titled Grief and Loss, where it actually highlighted 6 of these factors. One of the contributing factors that the article did highlight was the relationship that the grieving person has or had with the person that has passed away. Was this someone that the grieving person looked at as a support system? Was this someone that was an active member of their life? Did they see them frequently? That all plays a role into, again, the intensity and the impact that we have once the person passes away. Second contributing factor is the way the person died. So oftentimes people that suffer unexpected losses, they feel that sense of shock and denial. They feel as though the rug has been pulled from underneath them. Now, on the flip side, someone that loses someone as a result of an accident or as a result of disease has a different kinds of experience. However, the pain is still there. No experience trumps the other. For instance, people that lose someone progressively tend to experience 2 losses. The first loss we can refer to as anticipatory grief, knowing that the loss and the death is going to eventually happen, perhaps in the near future, and then you actually experience the actual physical loss. Also, people that have lost someone as a progression due to disease or an accident can sometimes have some in-between time to make the final preparation, such as the funeral. What kind of services do we need to have in place? Someone that loses someone suddenly kind of has to act, on the spot and figure things out relatively quickly. It's a different kind of pain, but pain nonetheless. A third contributing factor is the history of the person grieving. What is their mental health status at the time of the loss? Is loss something that they have previously experienced? What is their cognitive ability at the time of the loss? Because all of this plays a role into how they will interpret, internalize, and express the grief. Let's say you have someone that has mental health disorders or some type of cognitive impairment. This can definitely affect the intensity of the experience simply because they understand the death, one specific way, but then don't look at, the entire picture. And that can happen for someone without mental health disorders. So again, don't think that, only people that have these kind of disorders or impairments are subjected to experiencing these intense feelings. At the end of the day, pain is pain. But again, it's good to look at, the person's overall history to understand where are they mentally, cognitively, and what is their history with loss. Is this something that was discussed? Is this something they know how to cope with? Probably not. So the fourth contributing factor that can affect a person's grief experience is the person's personality and coping style. Sometimes we forget who we have in front of us, right? So if a person, that has just experienced a loss, before the loss was more of kind of a shy person, an introverted person, didn't necessarily engage in expressing their emotions to others, or more of a writer or a drawer in terms of how they express themselves to the world, and then the death happens, sometimes people make a disconnect between the two. They expect that this quiet, shy person who's not really, used to expressing emotion is now going to suffer this loss and become the total opposite, meaning that they're going to be talking about the loss, they're going to be wailing, they're going to be pulling their hair, they're going to be having these public displays of emotion where it's like, okay, guys, Was this person that way before the loss? Is this something that would seem natural or likely that the person would do? Also, what kind of coping style did this person have prior to the loss? So that's something that's really important. Know who you have in front of you. The fifth factor that plays a role in the way we experience grief is the availability and access to support. Does this person have access to a support system? Can this person rely or feel safe with anyone in their circle to be able to say, this is how I'm feeling about the loss, this is what's going on? Usually when people have limited access, they tend to feel the experience at a more intense rate, and they tend to feel it for longer periods of time simply because they don't feel safe enough to talk to, perhaps people around them for different reasons. They feel as though they're alone in their pain. They feel as though they're not sure how tomorrow is going to look like. At the end of the day, it is very possible to survive grief. In fact, you will survive grief. Reach out for support, whether it's family, friends, or even mental health professionals. I definitely recommend it. The last factor that can be a contributing factor is the person's customs, traditions, belief system, and culture. This is one of the major factors that I believe firmly that definitely plays a role in the way people express their grief. Does this person's culture see death as an end, or is it more of a beginning? Is it a celebration, or is it more of a loss? In the Haitian community, people celebrate, or some people celebrate when someone dies, because it's like, okay, they've celebrated, they lived a nice life and so forth, but they actually cry at the birth of a child because they know that the person is now eventually going to die. So again, it's good to understand what is their interpretation of death, what is their interpretation of loss, and then you'll be able to perhaps understand their grief experience from a much more objective point of view. So I thank you for watching and tuning in to my video. Please remember to subscribe, turn on your notifications. Also follow me on Instagram at lifeafterloss0322. And please feel free to send me an email for any questions, information, or if you have any suggested topics. Again, the point of today's conversation was to broaden our perspective on the connection between grief and love, because it is because you loved the person that you're experiencing your grief. But the way you grieve is nor right, nor is it wrong. It's simply your way. So I thank you for joining me today. Until the next.